The rain had already started when Daniel arrived at the old boarding house. He had driven 3 hours through back roads, following the instructions in a letter written by his estranged uncle, an uncle he barely remembered. The letter was short, almost frantic, begging Daniel to come at once. "I need you to see something before it's too late." The housekeeper, an elderly woman with pale eyes, greeted him without a smile. "You're here for Mr. Alden," she said. "He's not well." She led him down a narrow hallway lined with portraits whose eyes seemed to follow him. The air smelled of dust and something faintly metallic. At the end of the hall, she stopped in front of a door. "He's inside, but don't stay long. And whatever you do, don't listen too closely." Daniel frowned. Listen to what? But she had already walked away. The first visit. Inside, his uncle sat in a rocking chair, staring at the wall. His skin looked gray, stretched thin over sharp bones. "Daniel," he whispered, as if speaking too loudly would break him. "You came. What's going on?" "Your letter." His uncle raised a trembling finger toward the far corner of the room. "It's in the walls," he said. "It talks to me at night." Daniel followed his gaze. The corner looked normal, just peeling wallpaper and a crack running down the plaster. "What talks to you?" His uncle leaned forward, eyes wide with terror. "The house, it knows things. It whispers secrets, horrible secrets." Daniel tried to calm him, but the old man grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. "Don't stay here after midnight." "Promise me." Daniel didn't promise. The first night, the housekeeper had prepared a small guest room for him. The storm outside grew worse, wind rattling the windows. Daniel lay awake, thinking about his uncle's words. Around 1 a.m. he heard it, a faint sound, like someone whispering through a crack in the wall. At first he thought it was the wind, but the sound grew clearer, forming words he couldn't quite understand. A soft, rhythmic murmur, as if someone were speaking right beside his ear. He sat up, heart pounding. The whispering stopped. He waited. Then slowly it began again, this time from the hallway. Daniel opened the door. The hallway was dark, except for the dim glow of a single lamp. The portraits on the walls seemed to lean toward him. The whispering grew louder, coming from his uncle's room. He walked toward it. The second visit. His uncle was awake, eyes wide, staring at the same corner. "You heard it," the old man said. "Didn't you?" Daniel didn't answer. His uncle pointed again. "It wants you now. It knows you're here." Daniel stepped closer to the corner. The wallpaper was peeling more than before, curling like dead skin. He touched it. Something whispered directly behind the wall. He stumbled back. His uncle shook his head. "You shouldn't have touched it. The secret." The next morning, Daniel confronted the housekeeper. "What is wrong with this place?" She hesitated. "Your uncle, he wasn't always like this. It started after he found the room." "What room?" She looked around nervously. "The one behind the wall." Daniel felt a chill. "There's nothing behind that wall." "There is," she said. "But it doesn't stay still, it moves." The hidden door. That night, Daniel returned to his uncle's room with a flashlight. The old man was asleep, breathing shallowly. Daniel approached the corner. The whispering began immediately, soft, coaxing, almost gentle. He pressed his hand against the wall. The wallpaper shifted, a seam appeared. A door. Daniel froze. The whispering grew louder, urgent, as if begging him to open it. He pulled. The door creaked open, revealing a narrow passage descending into darkness. The whispering became a chorus. The descent. Daniel stepped inside. The air was cold, damp. The walls pulsed faintly as if alive. The whispers echoed around him, overlapping, forming words he could finally understand. "Come closer. We've been waiting. You belong here." He reached the bottom of the stairs and found a small room lit by a single flickering bulb. In the center stood a chair, and on the chair, a figure. At first he thought it was a person, but as he approached, he realized it was a shape made of twisted roots, hair, and scraps of clothing, like something the house had grown. The whispers swelled. "Sit." Daniel backed away. The door slammed shut behind him. The truth. The whispers became deafening. Images flashed in Daniel's mind. His uncle discovering the room, sitting in the chair, listening to the voices, letting them inside. The house didn't just whisper, It fed. It needed someone to listen, someone new. Daniel screamed and pounded on the door, but the walls absorbed the sound like a sponge. The voices circled him. Sit. 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 The next morning, the housekeeper found the uncle's room empty. The door to the hidden passage was sealed again, the wallpaper smooth and untouched. She sighed. Another one claimed. She walked away, whispering a prayer. Deep behind the wall, in the darkness of the hidden room, a new figure sat in the chair, eyes wide, mouth open, whispering along with the house. And the house whispered back. The darkness around Daniel pulsed like a living thing. Every breath he took felt borrowed, as if the air itself belonged to the house. The whispers swirled around him, weaving in and out of his thoughts until he could no longer tell which were his and which were theirs. Then suddenly everything went silent, a silence so complete it felt wrong. Daniel turned slowly. The figure in the chair, the twisted shape of roots and fabric, was no longer still. Its head had tilted toward him. Its mouth had opened, not wide, just enough to whisper, but no sound came out. Instead, the whispering began behind him. He spun around. Nothing. Then to his left. Nothing. Then to his right. Nothing. The voices were everywhere and nowhere, circling him like invisible hands brushing against his skin. Sit. The word came again, but this time it was a voice inside his skull, vibrating behind his eyes. Daniel backed up until he hit the wall. The surface felt warm, almost feverish. Something shifted beneath the wallpaper, like a heartbeat. He pressed his palms against it, desperate to find a way out. The wall pressed back. The housekeeper's secret upstairs. The housekeeper stood at the top of the hidden staircase, listening. She could hear the faint hum of the house feeding, the way one might hear a distant machine warming up. She closed her eyes. It's almost done, she murmured. She had seen this happen before. Many times, the house always chose someone curious, someone who wouldn't leave when warned, someone who listened. She walked back to the kitchen, humming softly to drown out the faint echoes rising from below. Daniel's last choice. In the room beneath the house, Daniel felt the air thicken. The whispers grew sharper, more insistent. Sit. 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 He shook his head violently. No. The figure in the chair twitched. Its head jerked again. Then its arm moved, slowly, stiffly, lifting as if pulled by invisible strings. It pointed at the chair. Daniel stumbled backward, but the room seemed to shrink around him. The walls tightened, bending inward like ribs closing around a heart. He tried the door again. It didn't budge. The whispers rose to a fever pitch. Sit. His knees buckled. He dropped to the floor, hands over his ears. But the voices were inside him now, crawling through his thoughts like insects. He felt something wrap around his ankle. He looked down. A root, thin, pale, and pulsing, had emerged from the floorboards. It curled around his leg like a cold finger. Another root slithered toward his wrist. Then another. The house was claiming him. Daniel screamed and pulled free, scrambling toward the chair, not to sit, but to push it over, to break whatever connection it had to the house. But the moment he touched it, the room went still. The whispers stopped, the roots froze. For a heartbeat there was silence. Then the figure in the chair turned its head fully toward him. Its face, if it could be called a face, shifted, the roots rearranging themselves into something disturbingly familiar. His uncle's eyes, his uncle's mouth, his uncle's voice. It's your turn. Daniel felt the world tilt. The chair's arms opened like jaws, the roots surged, and the house whispered one final time, "Welcome home."